Welcome to Beth's Happy Home. This is segment 3 of our Poverty to Prosperity series, and this is going to be a two-part presentation. First, we're going to talk about 5 categories that you can reduce your spending and improve your quality of life at the same time. And so these are the ideal ways to live well on less money. So the first one is just a few simple tricks that have to do with management of your money and the timing of it. So the first one we mentioned in an earlier one is to adjust your W-4 deductions so that on tax day the IRS doesn't owe you anything and you don't owe the IRS anything. And the reason that this is important is because if you are building up a big credit with the IRS and then you get this huge refund all at once, that tends to feel like fun money that you can just go blow. But in fact, it's your money. So if you have the proper number of deductions withheld from your paycheck, you'll be breaking even, and the benefit to that is you can take that extra money that you're going to have in your account every month and put it toward your credit cards and save yourself the interest that you have on any debt that you might have. So that's one way to trim back your debt right off the bat. So another way to do it that will save you time as well as late fees is to put all of your fixed bills on Autopay, and there is no company that won't embrace that. And I've heard people express concern, oh, then they'll just grab all my money, when they want to, and that isn't the way it works. You are protected from that kind of a thing, and putting it all on Autopay, and then you're not paying late fees, because a lot of friends that I've had pay a ton of money in late fees, and if it was on Autopay, they would avoid those. The third money management trick that is also a time saver is to, when you figure out at the very beginning of the month, when you make your budget, that you have X amount of savings to go into your savings account from your paycheck, put that on auto deposit also, and that way you're ahead from the very beginning. So the second that's the first category, is just simply managing your money so that it's easier, it's streamlined, and you're going to prosper more readily because of that. The second one are your vehicles, and there are a number of things that you can do regarding vehicles. If you have a vehicle that is too expensive, go ahead and sell it and get something that's more affordable, that will be reliable for you. And this is going to have a double effect. For one thing, you'll save on the payment. The other thing is you'll save on the insurance, because more expensive cars are more expensive to repair for an insurance company, and so they charge you more to insure them. And another thing that you may be able to do is reduce the level of insurance that you have on your car. So if you have an expensive car now and you reduce the level, you get a cheaper car, you can reduce the level of insurance down to strictly the required minimum, which is usually just liability. As far as saving gas, if you combine trips so that you stop at the grocery store on your way home from work, or you drop off your kid at school and you stop at the auto parts store, or whatever it is that you're doing, saving yourself a trip saves that amount of gas, and it also saves that amount of wear and tear on your car and your tires and everything, and it's just a more economical way to live. But even better, it saves you time. Another way to save both time and money is to ride share. If you can commute to work with someone else that works where you work or works near where you work, then you're saving yourself a lot of time and money, and you have that time in the car to do something else. Another one is to ride a bike if it's possible. If you live in an area where it's feasible, riding a bike doubles as exercise and as gas saving and wear and tear on your car saving. Another way that's kind of subtle is to drive carefully. If you brake gradually and accelerate gradually, you save gas, you save wear and tear on your car, and you also are being more careful and you're less likely to have an accident. And then minimizing the driving just generally, so that you're not running to the store or running here or there without combining trips as much as you can. Just trying to keep an eye on minimizing the amount of time that you spend driving your car. So the third category is lodging, and all the things that have to do with your lodging. So the first and easiest way is probably to have your thermostat set so that it automatically will turn off when you're not going to be there, and adjust at nighttime when you're going to be asleep. Another way that you can save on your heat and cooling is when you're going to be gone, turn your thermostat off so that you're not cooling an empty house, or you're not heating an empty house, or turn it down. In the case of heating, you don't want your pipes to freeze if you live in that kind of an area. So just turning it down so that you're not going to be wasting a lot of utilities when there's nobody there to benefit from it. Caulking windows. If you imagine that the crack around a window frame is like a hole, that if you add up all that space could be like a 1-inch hole in your window, you can imagine all the heat that you would lose, or the cooling that you would lose through that hole. And so a bead of caulk around the window frame, any place that's drafty, is going to be a big money saver. It will pay for itself very, very quickly, because heating and cooling your house is your main energy expenditure in your home. Fixing your sprinkler heads so that you're not wasting water, either adjusting them or replacing them, so that if you live in a single family home, you're not watering the street, and you're not overwatering or underwatering in certain areas. Water less often and more deeply, and that's good to conserve water as well. Canceling unused subscriptions and unnecessary subscriptions. For instance, we have a subscription to PBS, and for a while there we were watching a certain series on PBS and we loved it, and now we don't watch that anymore, and we haven't watched it in months and months and months, and so we may as well cancel it because it's not doing us any good. And we also you can cancel TV subscriptions if you have multiple ones, which you might. We have Netflix for this and Disney Plus for that. Get rid of the ones that you're not using. And you might also be able to downgrade the level of internet that you're using, especially if you're going back to in-person work and you're not using the internet as much. You might be able to downgrade it and save yourself some money there. If you're furnishing your home, you can usually buy much better quality and get more closely exactly what you want by shopping online, shopping the classifieds that are in your area. And you can save a lot of money, and you can often get nice stuff, really nice stuff for next to nothing. And even add a coat of paint if you want to spruce it up and make it your own. And the same is true of appliances. Buying used appliances can save you a ton of money. I remember once when my dryer just finally gave up the ghost. I had repaired it several times, and I decided, okay, it went out again, I need a new dryer. And so I looked at the classifieds, and I found for $150 someone was selling a washer and dryer pair. And so I went right over there and asked her if she would separate them out, because I didn't need a washer. I liked my washer, and she wouldn't. And so I said, well, $150 is not that bad even for a dryer, and it was a nice one. And in fact, it's the one I'm still using 23 years later. So it was a good buy. Anyway, so I sold the washer without the dryer for $100, and it ended up having somebody come and buy it immediately, and I ended up paying $50 for a dryer that has lasted me forever. The next category are behavioral changes that can actually save you a lot of money and time. And the first one is simply to delay purchases. If you see an ad somewhere that pops up on your computer, or you're in a store, or you get a mailer or something like that, simply writing down what it is that you want to buy in that moment, and then waiting, whether it be 2 weeks or a month, however long you might need to consider it, depending on how important of a purchase it is. Delaying purchases is a really good strategy for not spending as much money, and that's why there are so many prompts that will tell you that they're having a flash sale online, or in the next 12 hours you have to buy this, or this wonderful sale is going away. They do all kinds of tricks to try to keep you from delaying your purchase, because you're much less likely to spend that money. So defeat them and delay the purchase and save money. It's a proven fact that is very well documented that people who delay spend less. Another way that is actually quite effective, surprisingly, is to use cash for your funds where you can spend a varying amount, like food and clothes and entertainment. And so if you put a certain amount of cash in the envelope, when the envelope is empty, there's no more money to spend on that for the month. And it is very limiting. It's a lot harder to spend cash than it is to spend on a credit card or even a debit card, where you don't see it leaving the envelope or leaving your wallet. And so try using cash, and you'll be surprised with how well it helps to limit you psychologically in your impulse to buy. Another thing is making a list and then honor the list. So when you go into the store, you buy only what's on the list, and no matter how enticing the displays are, you only buy what's on the list. And this has a dual effect. The less often you go to a store, the less money you're going to buy. So if you do your shopping only occasionally, and you're using a list so that you get everything there and you don't have to come back for a whole month, you're going to end up spending a lot less money, because you're not going to be making those impulse buys, because impulse buys are usually the culprits when it comes to money that could have been spent better elsewhere. Another way is to give more modest gifts. I have many loved ones and friends that are very generous, and yet they give gifts that are extravagant and not necessary for the relationship to whom they are giving the gift. And so you might look at that and think about, what does the relationship really warrant, and what do my finances really warrant for choosing a gift for an occasion where you must give a gift. And another one that is a big important one, and it kind of goes with food, but it also kind of goes with other categories, and that is stay out of restaurants. Avoid fast food, avoid fine food, avoid all restaurants until you have your finances completely solved. And, for recreation, find another way to recreate. Go on a hike or a walk, or go to a park or something like that. But restaurants are money pits for people that are struggling financially. And then one other area that you might consider is, it might be that you are paying a phone bill or a car payment or an insurance payment or something for an adult child or for somebody else. And I've even heard of roommates being asked to pay the rent for the roommate that was too poor to pay the rent. And those obligations usually can at least be cut, if not eliminated, just by taking control of the situation and giving the bill back to the person who is really obligated to pay it. Okay, the last category is for food. Now, this is something that can be really fun, and it will improve the quality of your life a lot if you follow these tips. And the interesting thing is that not only will your health improve and your diet improve, and you will enjoy your meals more, but you're going to save a lot of money if you start cooking from scratch. And that means you don't buy ready-made burritos, you buy tortillas and refried beans, or you buy dry beans and you mash them in the blender and season them up and put them on a tortilla. And you could even make your tortillas if you really wanted to take it to the extreme, but I'm not really advocating that, even though I do like to make tortillas once in a while. Anyway, so making from scratch, cooking from scratch. There are millions of recipes on the internet, and if you were to do a quick search on allrecipes.com or just in your Google search for inexpensive, nutritious meals, you will have a long list of things that are delicious and wonderful and will cost you just pennies compared with buying a ready-made version of that, or let alone a restaurant version of that. So cooking from scratch can become a really fun hobby, as well as improve your health and improve family time together and all kinds of benefits. Another way to save money on food is to build your diet around things like whole grains and legumes. And so those are kind of the basis, like brown rice underneath a sweet and sour chicken or something like that. It's very inexpensive to make if you make it from scratch, and you're filling up on the whole grain, the brown rice, or if you're using beans in a chili or something like that. They're very inexpensive relative to other sources of protein and other similarly nutritious foods, especially if you cook them from the dry version. A bag of dry beans would fill about 6 cans, 1 pound would fill about 6 cans of beans, and those beans would cost about 79 cents a piece if you bought them that way, but the whole bag that would fill it 6 times cost 79 cents. And so you can cook them in a hot pot, you can cook them on the stove, you can cook them, they're easy to prepare, and they're much less expensive if you buy them dry. So that's just a little tip that you may not have ever really focused in on that will improve your health, because they're highly nutritious. Eliminate luxuries like soda pop and chips and ready-made foods, and in their place, replace them with fresh fruits and vegetables, and get a little bit adventuresome and start trying some new things, trying new recipes. And that kind of brings me down to the next point, which is to try 3 new recipes every week. And that way you'll become a better cook, for one thing. You'll know more what your family likes, and you're going to be getting a more balanced diet because you're going to have more diversity in your diet. And last of all is a little point that when you cook, pay attention to the portion sizes so that you end up with either enough for 2 meals or 3 meals or 1 meal, but not 1.5, or, so you end up with a little bit left over. Try to gauge what your family or you are going to eat, and then cook a multiple of that amount so that you don't waste it. It doesn't go to waste in the refrigerator. And the same is true of fruits and vegetables. Don't buy more than you're really going to use, and then really work hard to try to use the ones that you do buy. That way you eliminate waste, and eliminating waste can be a really big factor in saving money, because you're getting the good from the money that you spend on food. So I hope that all of these 5 areas have shown you that you can actually improve your health, save yourself time, and improve the quality of life while you're saving money. And you're going to be wonderfully successful on this journey, and I'm so glad that you've stuck with us this long. And stay tuned for 5 ways you should not save money. And that's coming up in a separate video. Thanks for watching.